I like Demon Slayer. Sure, the story is just kill bad guys because bad guys do bad things, but Tanjiro is a super easy MC to root for, and the show has god tier animation.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
I thought the Mugen Train movie was going to be the peak of the show, but then season 2 came out. I was very surprised, but the animation in that looked just as good, if not better, and although the story around the entertainment district wasn't super interesting to me, it did mark the first time an upper ranked demon was killed in over 100 years, so, progression. Nice. Perhaps it was wrong of me to ever doubt Ufotable. Now, I'm sure season 3 is gonna be just as great.
Yes, but actually no.
Well, I guess all good things must come to an end, cause for me personally, season 3 just wasn't it. It follows pretty much the same formula since Mugen Train, where Tanjiro goes on a mission, a different Hashira is there, flashbacks, fights, emotional ending, but the main difference is this time, it's just significantly worse. The first few episodes are usually dedicated to recap and Tanjiro recovering from what would appear to be irreparable damage before getting assigned his next task.
Every morning I break my legs, and every afternoon I break my arms.
The pacing is usually slow, and the episodes are a bit overly goofy for my liking, which makes them probably my least favorite in the season. However, there's usually at least some interesting scenes, like when Tanjiro got to meet with Kyojiro's family, and in this one where we get to meet more of the upper-ranked demons.
So no head?
So for season 3, essentially, Tanjiro breaks his sword, again, and Mr. Haganezuka doesn't feel like making him a new one. I just realized I have to say that name multiple times during the script, and it's probably going to sound different each time I say it, so be warned. Now Tanjiro has to make a trip to the Swordsmith village so that he can talk to him directly. But that as a premise would be incredibly lame, so of course some demons are going to show up. I would have liked it if we weren't just told in the first 10 minutes what demons would be at the village. The mystery of an unknown foe like Gyutaro hits way more in my opinion. Tanjiro finally recovers and sets off to the Swordsmith village where we meet the 2 Hashira who will be involved this season. Kanroji is vibing there in a hot spring because, well, you know why.
I'm about to bust.
And Tokito is bullying a child. Our boy Genya is also there, but we'll get to him a little bit later. There's some more training that goes on, and then about halfway through the 3rd episode, the demons show up. It was honestly a bit quicker than I expected, but since there's 2 upper demons, it makes sense to get into the action sooner rather than later. Everything up until this point's been pretty typical for Demon Slayer, but this is when the show starts to go a bit off the rails for me. I genuinely believe the second half of episode 3 through episode 6 are the best of the entire season. For one, the fights feel the best here, battling against these emotion demons. Sure, it's a bit fucking cheese that they can just die and split off into other demons, but we have a large variety of abilities where Tanjiro and company are forced to adapt to each situation quickly. However, it's also when we get to see these cursed-ass fish things with legs, but, I'll cover those once we get into the animation.
What the hell is even that?
Watching Genya have this crazy demon form that we haven't seen before, and Tanjiro's Sun Halo Dragon was the peak of the entire season for me. Even after it's over, there's actually some mystery still with Genya because, we got some backstory, but we don't know how he got those powers and is able to maintain that form. Or why the fuck he got the double barrel.
And I have a shotgun. Haha, let me prove it.
But here is where my positives of the season kinda come to an end. Everything from here on out kinda felt poorly executed to me. The fights change from battling these emotion demons to a dude who just bangs on a drum. Never seen that before in Demon Slayer.
I feel like we've been here before. Have we been here before?
And a remastering of the 1940s hit cartoon Tanjiro and Jerry, where my guy just chases after this little fucking rat. Tokito spends more time inside of this bubble than he does actually fighting this weird ink genie thing. And the most interesting thing about the fight wasn't even the fight, it was Haganezuka not even caring a little bit and then having his mask destroyed.
Oh no, he's hot!
These are the upper 4 and 5 demons. You'd think that they would present more of a challenge than someone like, I don't know, the upper 6? The Gyutaro fight felt way more intense, and just like Muzan said, if he didn't have Daki with him, he probably would have won. These demons felt significantly weaker. Their whole shtick was just stalling. Keep someone in a bubble long enough to where they just suffocate and use the emotions to hopefully defeat people while the main body hides. As soon as those little tricks get dealt with, the demons just get bodied. Tokito does just that, so all we need now is someone to keep this Hydra thing busy while the main demon's body is hunted down. The person responsible for this is our other Hashira, Kanroji.
I'm about to bust.
I was pretty disappointed at how she was used in this fight. She jumps in right before Tanjiro gets crushed, because plot armor, and although we get to see some of her abilities and other strengths, her screen time feels very limited. The time spent on her backstory is only about a minute less than the time she gets to be actually fighting, which was another of my main issues with this season. I mean, of course we're gonna get backstory on these characters this season. It's how Demon Slayer has always done it. Why would it be any different? But the time and amount of these flashbacks shown is where I have the issue. Season 3 is already only 11 episodes. I mean, I guess technically 12 since the last episode is 50 minutes. But if you got a shit ton of information to convey, you need to use that time wisely. 8 minutes for Genya, 16 to 17 for Tokito, 7 minutes for Kanroji, and even a couple of minutes from one of the demons. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against flashbacks or backstory. I even believe that the backstories themselves were done pretty dang well this season. But when all of these happen in the second half of the season, it creates a very disjointed viewing experience. I want to swap my attention over now to episode 11, the finale. 50 minutes. Surely shit's about to go down. The first half is just Tanjiro trying to chase down the upper 4 demon. It's not super intriguing, but then in steps our real enemy, the sun. Tanjiro is forced to make a decision to hunt down the demon or protect Nezuko. There's this whole emotional sequence of Tanjiro debating on what to do before ultimately Nezuko kicks him away. I sort of figured that this was going to happen, but was still like, damn, they're really about to kill her off. It's at this point I remembered. Oh wait, this is Nezuko. There's gonna be a fucking riot in the streets if she's killed off, and sure enough, UV rays prove to be ineffective as she's just chilling.
Am I smiling? Yeah. Because it feels amazing.
If anything, it's a bit of a buff, because now she's finally starting to talk. Listen, I didn't want Nezuko to die, but if they did, I would have respected the hell out of the creator. Tanjiro has fought so hard for her to be accepted and kept alive, it would have been quite the sight to see how he'd react to losing his last remaining family member.
Now that's fucked up.
Would he have been able to keep this unshakable resolve, or would his character go down a different path? Instead, Nezuko's just used as the catalyst to draw out Muzan, which feels like a bit too cliche. It's been obvious since she was turned into a demon that she is different from the other demons, but I didn't think we would go down such a predictable route. The last thing I'll talk about is the animation. I've seen some people put the quality into question, and yeah, I agree it doesn't look as good as Season 2, but that means it still looks better than about 99% of any anime that's being produced. There's still some absolutely jaw-dropping scenes and backgrounds that could only be produced by UFO tables, so to question the quality doesn't really make much sense. Yes, there was a lot more CGI used this season, something that the general anime community seems to hate, but it in no way looks bad. One of the main issues with CGI in anime is that it'll often look out of place and not blend in well with what's on screen, and this poor execution can completely contract from that scene. At least here, the colors and shading make the CGI elements not feel out of place, even if you don't like how they look. And I'll die on this hill, but I don't think it's the CGI that looks bad, I just think that the design of these fucking weird fish people is just strange to begin with. I wouldn't even like looking at those things if they were in 2D. Overall, I believe Demon Slayer Season 3 is the weakest the show has been. The pacing feels off, the conflict is boring, and the use of time is questionable. There's too many flashbacks and cutaways that pull you away from the current scene. I mentioned all the time spent on backstory, but that doesn't even include the last 20 minutes of the show where we get even more backstory, but on Muzan in about a 10-minute celebratory sequence. It's like a lot happened, but also nothing happened at the same time. This whole season was just a very run-around way, no pun intended, of telling us that Nezuko is built different. I'm pretty sure we already knew that, but like I said before, the Genya stuff was way more interesting to me because 1, I didn't expect those demon-like powers, 2, they aren't really discussed too much, and 3, they aren't really discussed too much, so we have time to focus on what's at hand. However, by no means does this make Season 3 unwatchable. It still looks and sounds good and has quite a few entertaining moments, but when you put everything together, it's just very... I really don't like to use this term, but it's just mid. I've heard a lot of people say that this is the weakest arc in Demon Slayer, which makes sense after watching, but it's not like I'm just gonna drop the show altogether just after an okay season. The fact that people didn't think Demon Slayer could look or get any better, and it did, has definitely brought some unrealistic expectations, and I'm at fault here too, but I'm still excited to see what the show has in store for the Hashira training arc. If you've watched Demon Slayer Season 3, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I want to give a huge shout out to the people who support me on Patreon, including Killer Bunny, Leon, Little PK, Peppy Jewel, Nicholas Gutierrez, Tech Rob, Shaky Pants, and Chupa. If you want to check out the Patreon, the link is in the description. That's all I have for this time. Hope to see you here again.